Everyone has precious childhood memories they hold on to. It's not until you grow up when you realize those memories are truly nightmares. I had recently finished my final year at school and I had decided to enjoy my last summer vacation at my hometown. It sounds strange, right? Since college is where all the parties and fun summer events are held. Also, since this was the last time I could enjoy such events. But I've gotten a taste of it last year and it's not my type of thing. In fact, my parents rarely use my childhood home anymore. They only use it in the beginning of each year for a month or two. So I decided to live there for the time being. My parents told me they were fine with it over the phone call, saying, as long as you pay the bills, which I was fine with. I haven't been in my hometown for a year now, so I lost my job there as a grocery store cashier. I decided to resort to the newspaper ads since I was too lazy to go driving around town or searching online for a job. I flipped through the employment section of the newspaper. Babysitter? No. Exterminator? Nah. Newspaper delivery? Nope. I did a good 5 minutes of scanning until I came across a rather interesting one. It was a job for one of my favorite childhood places, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Freddy's was an awesome place that my mother took me whenever my father wasn't in town, or I just behaved long enough to get a special treat. Unfortunately, the job was for a security guard during the night. Not my ideal position, but I just couldn't turn down Freddy. I immediately circled the ad with my pen and called up the pizzeria. They said I could have the job without passing an interview. They just asked for my name, Mike Schmidt, and my age, 23. I was then told that I could start this fall, November to be exact. I was a little surprised. This fall, I began to rethink even working there, but then I remembered all the cash I earned while working at my job in college. I had enough money to get a couple months before November, and decided to take the job. Yes, I cheered, knowing now that I have a job at one of my favorite childhood places ever, and that the job doesn't take up any of my time during the day. I then went upstairs to my old room to sleep, knowing I'd be alright this summer and this coming winter. The next day I decided to take a little tour of my old town. I did a good walk down Main Street, went through the community park, and even passed by Freddy's. It was good to look at that place again. I didn't want to go inside because I'm sure people would find it weird for a grown man with no child to walk into a children's place of happiness. Basically, I'd look like a pedophile. While walking down one of the busiest streets in my town, I saw a newspaper article stating, "Murder case of 5 children reopens," in bold letters on the top. I didn't want to take too long of a glance at it, but then I realized that the picture to go along with it was Freddy Fazbear. I was confused and decided to take a copy and read it. Supposedly, a man dressed up like Freddy Fazbear had lured children away from their parents to kill them. I was shocked and disgusted with whoever would do this. The next couple of months weren't eventful. None of my childhood friends returned home like I did. I saw some old relatives and my parents thought about visiting me, but blew me off. Heck, I even went on 2 dates with this beautiful girl who I just realized was just using me to get back at her ex. I didn't really even do anything special besides that. I just laid around on my couch watching movies and TV shows. Things went on and on like that until November came. November 8th to be exact. It was my first day on the job. I had little money left, so it was good to finally start getting an income again. Night number 1. It was a Monday night, and I was about to head out to the pizzeria. I was a bit excited and worried at the same time. Excited because I was starting a new job at one of my favorite childhood spots, and worried because I would be there all night. I was planning on sleeping the whole day to get the energy for the rest of the night, but I just couldn't fall asleep. Oh well, I said to myself, not giving it too much thought. When I arrived at Freddy's, a man was sitting outside for me. "Hello? Are you the owner here?" I asked. "Who wants to know?" he responded. "I'm Mike Schmidt. I'm here for the night watch job," I said. "Oh yes, how can I forget? Who else would be here at 12 a.m?" he chuckled. "Neighborhood watch," I added, laughing slightly. Are you the one who's going to teach me the basics? I continued. Nah, I'm just the owner, as you guessed. I'm here to just give you a pair of keys to the place. Your mentor left a message for you in the security office. Well, here you go. He handed me the keys. Remember, your shift always starts at 12 a.m. and doesn't end until 6 a.m. You got it? He asked, sounding a bit anxious. Yes, of course, sir, I replied. Good. Well, good night, son. Don't mess this up, or else you're out, he said, walking towards his car. Good night, I called, but I don't think he heard me. I then opened the door to the place. Fortunately, he left it unlocked for me. Not that it was much of a deal if it wasn't. After all, I had the keys. I then looked around the place. A huge sense of nostalgia hit me like a ginormous wave. I then recalled sitting at the party tables with my mother and friends, eating pizza and watching Freddy and the band sing. I then looked to the stage. There they were, Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie. Oh, how nice it was to recite those names again. After I relived my childhood memories, I then scanned the rest of the buildings, looking for the security office. My guess was that it was in the back of the building, which it was. I peeked in to see that there was no one in there. I walked into the room somewhat annoyed by the sounds of the rotary fan. I thought about turning it off, but then I realized how warm the room was. I had no choice but to keep it running. I also noticed a little beep sound going off every couple of seconds. I located the sound to be a message machine. I pressed the play button.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact, so I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about. You'll do fine. So let's just focus on getting you through your first week, okay? Let's see. First, there's an introductory greeting from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah. Now, that might sound bad, I know, but there's really nothing to worry about. The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No. If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, I'd probably be a bit irritable at night too. So remember, these characters hold a special place in the hearts of children and we need to show them a little respect, right? Okay. So just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah, it's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know? Now, concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up. But hey, first station of the breeze. I'll chat with you tomorrow. Check those cameras and remember to close the doors only if absolutely necessary. Gotta conserve power. Alright, good night.
The message ended. I checked my cameras and sure enough, it had a power percentage there. It said I have 80%. Whoa, 20% gone in 5 minutes? Maybe it's because I left the screens on all this time. This might be a bad idea. What else did he say? A character in Pirate Cove. I never remembered that place as a child. I then checked through the camera until I found Pirate Cove. There was a curtain there, but it was closed. I took that as a good sign. Then I checked the hallway where Bonnie was to see if she was there. I came to the conclusion that with a name like Bonnie, it must be a girl. She wasn't there. I checked the next camera closest to me to see that she wasn't there either. I was confused. She wouldn't just leave the area. I then decided to check those door lights. Nothing on the right. Then I checked the left, and to my disbelief, Bonnie was right there, staring at me. I smashed the door button as hard and as fast as I could. I was terrified, but then I realized there weren't real people trying to hurt me. They were just robots. I calmed down and pressed the door light button to see if I could see Bonnie's shadow or something. There was nothing showing that Bonnie was there. Hesitantly, I opened the door, and to my surprise, Bonnie wasn't there. The night went on pretty similar to that. Bonnie got close to me a couple of times, and the curtain at Pirate Cove opened a little bit, but I saw nothing in there. Chica and Freddy stayed on the stage, thankfully, and I finished the night with 14% power to spare. I overcame my fears of them trying to kill me and simply thought they were just trying to play. I left Freddy's and went home to sleep. I was exhausted. After I grabbed some dinner at McDonald's, I drove over to Freddy's. This time there was a vehicle just leaving. I didn't know who it was, and it wasn't the same car as my boss when he drove away last night. I shrugged it off and got out of my car, unlocked the door, and took a glance at the robots. They seemed to be looking at me, but I was just facing head on with them and they were probably just left in that position. I headed back into the security office and saw that I once again had another message. I pressed play.
Hello? Hello? Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats. I won't talk quite as long this time since Freddy and his friends tend to become more active as the week progresses. It might be a good idea to peek at those cameras while I talk, just to make sure everyone's in their proper place, you know. Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. I've heard he becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right? I also want to emphasize the importance of using your door lights. There are blind spots in your camera views, and those blind spots happen to be right outside your doors. So if you can't find something or someone on your cameras, be sure to check the door lights. You might only have a few seconds to react. Not that you would be in any danger, of course. I'm not implying that. Also, check on the curtain in Pirate Cove from time to time. The character in there seems unique in that he becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time. I guess he doesn't like being watched. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure you have everything under control. Talk to you soon.
I took what he said into account and checked my door lights. Nothing. And then I began to check my cameras. The gang was still on the stage and didn't move. I decided I'd check the Pirate Cove place and saw that the curtains was open far enough that I saw a figure in there. Some sort of dog. I wasn't sure as I switched off the cameras. I have to conserve power. I left them off for a solid minute before I checked them again. I saw that the curtain was all the way open in Pirate Cove, and that figure was standing just outside of it. I had a better view of it now. It appeared to be a fox. I then quickly checked the main stage. Bonnie was gone, but Chica and Freddy were still there. I checked each camera and saw that Bonnie was once again on the main audience area, just like last night. I checked Pirate Cove and again, I saw that nothing was there. The curtain was wide open and the figure wasn't there. I checked each camera close to the Pirate Cove until I got to the West Hall. I saw that the fox was sprinting down the hallway. My body tensed up and I was filled with pure fear. I smashed the door button quicker and harder than I did last night. I then heard banging on the door, as if someone wanted to get inside. After that, I heard footsteps moving away from it, as if it left. Just to be cautious, I checked the Pirate Cove cam and saw that the curtain was closed. I thought that it meant it returned, and I opened the door back up. I quickly checked the door lights on both sides, and to my surprise, Bonnie was outside my left-hand door. I hit the door button again, filled with fear, and waited for Bonnie to leave. The night went on in a similar way. The fox ran down the hallway again, and Bonnie came close to me a few more times. Fortunately, Chica and Freddy stayed on the stage just like last night. Why don't they leave the stage like Bonnie and the fox, I wondered. I left the place when my shift was over and saw Bonnie was back up on the stage. I didn't even want to look in Pirate's Cove since I've actually seen the bot move in there. I began thinking that it was strange the way these animatronics acted. I headed home and went to sleep. This time I went to Freddy's a bit earlier before my shift and after the other guard left. I didn't really want to wait until the middle of the night to arrive, which somewhat frightened me. I also got there while the owner was still there. I said hi to him, but he just gave me a low as if he were saying hey or I really don't feel like talking. I sat in the security office playing games on my phone until its battery went out, which was conveniently at 11:57 p.m. I completely forgot to check the message machine for my nightly message. I don't know how it was possible to tune out that constant beep of that dang thing. Maybe it was because of my headphones that were barely even up. Anyways, I pressed play.
Hello. Hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long. I mean, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant. Anyway, I better not take up too much of your time. Things are getting real tonight. Hey, listen, I had an idea. If you happen to get caught and want to avoid getting stuffed into a Freddy suit, try playing dead. Go limp. Then there's a chance that maybe they'll think that you're an empty costume instead. Then again, if they think you're an empty costume, they might try to stuff a metal skeleton into you. I wonder how that would work. Yeah, never mind. Scratch that. It's best just not to get caught. Okay, I'll leave you to it. See you on the flip side.
The message ended. I checked the cameras again. They were all out. West Hall, East Hall, Pirate Cove, and every single camera was out. I was about to check on one of the cameras outside when I realized they turned back on. I checked the main stage. Chica was gone. Not Bonnie. Chica. This kinda surprised me. Bonnie was the first one to always leave. Why not now? I began to check around. That's when I found Chica in the audience area, staring directly at me from behind a table. The way she was facing was really creepy. Her body wasn't towards me, but her face was. This chilled my bones. Why were they staring directly at the cameras? Do they know I'm watching them? No, AI shouldn't be able to know that. Cameras went dark again. I checked the door lights. There was nothing there. When they came back on, Bonnie was gone. Thankfully, Freddy was still there. I checked Pirate Cove. The curtain was closed. I then found both Bonnie and Chica in the opposite halls. Chica was in the East Hall, and Bonnie was in the West. This filled me to the brim with fear. I was surrounded. There was nothing I could do. I checked the door lights. There was nothing on the left. I checked the right, and there was Chica, staring right at me through the glass window. I was startled at first, but then I stared at it for a couple of seconds. I saw it twitch, and I jumped for the door switch. That twitch was not something AI could do. Well, they could twitch if they were broken, but that twitch was human-like, like Chica did. I checked the lights. Chica was still out there. I checked the right, and there was Bonnie. I was startled by Bonnie because I swear I saw his mouth moving up and down almost like he was eating. From outside, this caused me to immediately hit the door button. I was surrounded. I could do absolutely nothing but pray. I didn't open the doors for the rest of the night. It caused me to lose a lot of power right before 6, but my praying paid off. Nothing came to get me. I didn't leave that security office until the owner showed up because I was so scared. He didn't care and told me to leave because my shift was over. I went home and just watched movies. I couldn't find the courage to fall asleep, knowing I'd have nightmares. I stayed awake straight until my next shift. I got to the place at 11:50. As soon as I entered, I ran straight to the back of the building. I didn't have the bravery to look at those animatronics in the eye. It sounded silly, but it was true. When I entered the office, it was very messy. There were some papers on the floor, the fan was flung across the room, and the camera screen had a small crack in it. Strange, I thought, as I pressed the play button on the message machine.
Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
What happened to him? Did he just die? That could explain why the place was a mess, but how did this happen? It sounded like something impossible. No computer program creation could act like this, even if it was malfunctioning. I sat for an hour, not looking at the cameras or door lights. I was too terrified to do anything. What snapped me out of my daze was the sound of a heavy footsteps approaching me on the right. I didn't even check for the door lights. I didn't look at the camera. I ran out of the room to the right to face whatever the thing making the footstep was. I was confident, angry, and scared at the same time. As soon as I entered the East Hall, those feelings left me, except for fear. There, looking straight at me, were a pair of white eyes. I just looked at it until it began moving forward and started laughing. It sounded just like Freddy's voice, so there was no doubt that what I was facing was Freddy. I ran straight back into the security office. As soon as I entered, I began hearing footsteps going full speed after me. I closed the door where Freddy was in time. As soon as I was about to close the other door, I saw the fox. It was running straight at me, mouth open and tears all over it, revealing its innards. I pressed the door button right before it entered. Its nose being less than a foot away from me, I sat and let the power drain. By 2 a.m., I was at 72%. By 3, I was at 49%. At 4, it was 28. And at 5:30, it was 12. I didn't know if I could survive, and I began to not care. I was slipping away. One of my favorite childhood memories had been turned into a nightmare. I woke up to my boss shaking me. He told me it was 7 a.m. and I needed to go home. There had been an accident, I asked, but he said I shouldn't worry and I should just get some rest. He appeared to not care that I was sleeping on the job and just let me go without saying a word on the matter. As I was leaving, I smelled this very foul odor in the main stage area, and all the bots appeared to have red marks around their eyes. I thought I was just imagining them, because I do experience hallucinations from time to time, but part of me was telling me that those marks were real. When I stepped outside, there was a lot of police cars out there. I saw the policeman talking to the owner and others writing down information. I also saw the car from a couple of nights ago when I arrived for my shift parked in the parking lot. It had a caution tape around it, which caused me to believe it was my mentor. When I got home, I did all my research on finding some info on the old security guard. After a good 2 hours of research, I came across the name Todd Smith. I believe it could possibly be the name of the man I'm looking for, but I'm not sure. I thought about asking my boss his name tomorrow, but for now, I just had to get some sleep. I didn't want to go to work at all. I was terrified, but I had no choice. I needed the money, and it better be worth it. I arrived at the place, and my boss was waiting outside for me. "Hello, sir," I greeted. "Shut your mouth," he replied. I was surprised. "Excuse me? Is there a problem?" I asked. "Yeah, there is," he began moving towards me. "That old security guard, the The guy whose job you took, he's dead," he finished. You're kidding me, right?" I asked. I knew he was dead, I just didn't want to believe it. "No, I'm not kidding. The funny thing is, you're the only person that could have been in there with him when it happened," he said. "What are you saying?" I questioned. "Oh, quit playing all innocent. You know that you killed him. I have no evidence other than you being with him at the time of the incident. I will find more evidence, and by then, you will be locked up," he finished. "Sir, I can tell you that I have never even met that person. I did not commit this crime," I replied. "Then who did it? An intruder? There was no signs of forced entry. The animatronics? Impossible." He didn't wait for me to finish, as he stormed away to his car and drove away. I entered and sprinted to the security office. I just wanted to get this night over with. And the only place I wanted to see those animatronics was on the camera, not anywhere else. I entered the office and saw that I had a message. I thought it was from my boss, so I pressed play. I was completely wrong. What I heard was a deep voice saying a bunch of gibberish along with a couple of screams. The voice sounded a bit like Freddy's, and I'm sure it was. With the way they've been acting, I'm not surprised they left this horrid message. I couldn't even figure out what he was saying, which frightened me further. I immediately picked up the tablet and began checking on the stage and Parrot Cove. Those places are where those creatures originate, so my safest bet was to watch those places carefully. The camera then went dark. I then began to hearing pots and pans shuffle around. This made me tense up because I knew one of those things were making those noises. When the camera came back on, I checked everywhere for those animatronics. Freddy was still on the stage, thankfully, but Bonnie and Chica were gone. The curtain in the Parrot Cove was also halfway open, but that wasn't my main concern right now. I then tried to locate Bonnie and Chica. I found Bonnie at camera 3, and she was staring at me through the camera, her face up close enough that I could see her endoskeleton eyes. I began to scan around for Chica, but I couldn't find her. I checked the door lights. Chica was outside with her jaw wide open. I closed the door to avoid her getting in. As soon as I did that, I began hearing Freddy's tune play. I checked the cameras and saw Freddy in the audience room, and I could see those white eyes. I checked the door lights and saw Chica was gone, so I opened the door. I checked the cameras again. Bonnie and Chica were now standing on opposite sides of Freddy. I checked Parrot Cove. The curtain was wide open. I closed the door immediately, knowing soon the fox would be here. I then checked the cameras and saw laying next to Bonnie was the fox. Its eyes were wide open, but it was limp. The camera then went black, and Freddy's tune then got slower and more, well, demonic sounding. The cameras came back on, and I saw that now, in front of the whole gang, was a limp Freddy Fazbear suit, with eyes poking out of the front of the mask, with streams of blood staining down the sockets. The camera went dark again, and then the tune picked up speed gradually. I began hearing footsteps close in every angle, and I hit both the doors shut as soon as I could. I then blacked out. I woke up to banging on the door. I checked the time, 5:55 a.m. I checked the cameras and saw that each animatronics were at their respective spot. I thought maybe my boss showed up early and wanted to come in, so I opened the door. But when I did, I saw the same Freddy Fazbear suit with the eyes poking out of the front. I was sure I could see some teeth, but I didn't look too close. The last thing I noticed was a bib on his chest. It was the same one on Chica's, though it had dry blood all over it. I ran away. I left the building and drove away as fast as I could. 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail with my check from Freddy's and a "you're fired" note. I didn't care. I wanted a different job anyways. I didn't want to spend another day in that place. I contacted the authorities and told them about what I experienced in that place, but they told me I should get some rest. Yeah, right. What happened in that place for kids was not right. There was something very wrong. I heard the place is scheduled to close down soon, but have a grand reopening next year. All I know is that whatever went on in there could not be achieved by an AI-controlled suit. I now see that what I truly loved as a kid was all a big, nightmarish lie.